Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Double Geek Podcast. My name is Myles Abenza. I'm back again with Danreb Victorio and Kurosh Jozavi. We're doing this video game thing once a month. I think at this point we should probably start brainstorming names and separate it from the main podcast, but that's something we could do later. Today we're going to talk about our time at the Game Awards, all the announcements, all the winners. Talk about our time. Yeah, but before we do that, speaking of awards, Temple of Geek, we're doing our own end of the year awards, honoring the best in film, TV, and games. We posted our announcement article Monday, December 16th, which at the time this is published will have been Monday. And then we're also doing an audience vote, which opens December 17th, ends on December 23rd. So there's plenty of time. If you follow us anywhere on like Instagram or whatever, there's a registration link. You register to vote there, and then we shoot you an email to pick from the best of those three categories. We had it up in the air to like have the audience vote for every category, but just like no one had the time to make that happen. So the audience vote is just going to be movie of the year, TV show of the year, and game of the year, of course. So please sign up, please vote. It would help us out a lot, and it's just fun to have these kinds of conversations.
Hell yeah. This is our
Um,
first one too, right?
this is our first one. Yeah,
Our
Temple of Geek.
debut.
Yeah, they if I remember correctly, we've done something like this years ago before my time. It wasn't really as like popular or kind of like as well planned. And then there's another podcast called Retro Rebel that's kind of associated with us that does their own video game awards, but they're not as like they're both extremely busy, so they don't have a lot of time to do that. So I think they're just gonna have us do ours and then just not do theirs. It's a whole thing. Yeah, guys, how's it going? How's your week been since the Game Awards?
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh yeah. It's been just fine. Happy to be back at home on Friday, so I could, get back to my weekend. There is some work and stuff to do, but also work also involves me flying out to Orlando later this week. So there really isn't all that much to do unless I'm totally forgetting anything. Aside from that, just enjoying some football. It's on in the background. You guys don't see it because I'm covering it. But yeah, just looking forward to talking about the Game Awards because it was a really really good show.
Really good show.
Yeah, it was a great show. I spent the weekend a bit recovering from that day. We were busy from the morning. One thing I wanted to hit on was we did a Double Dragon preview, which is up on the site. Um,
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
that we got to check out, and then we just spent the whole day in the area before the show, during the show, and then after the show. So more than I typically spend, in an outing. Every time I take an outing in LA, it takes a lot out of me. So the rest of the weekend was just trying to just chill and relax, play some games that I feel like I heard throughout all our conversations there and talking with you guys that I was like, I need to finish these before the end of the year comes around. So I was just chilling and recovering and just looking forward to talking to you guys about the Game Awards.
You mentioned it twice, Kurosh, recovering. I don't know about you guys, but I had a total of 6 hours of sleep in those 3 days. So
Yeah.
recovering is a
That's
good word
funny.
to use.
I was telling Kurosh right before we started that the night of the awards, I didn't really get home until like 3 or 4 in the morning, I think. But I was awake up until like 9 a.m. the next day. I just couldn't sleep. So luckily, I didn't have to work the next day. So it was awful. And then yeah, I got like 2.5 hours of sleep. I had to like rush myself out of bed. Like, oh my god, I got to write our preview for Double Dragon. So it was a crazy weekend, and just
Well,
I'm still exhausted. But
at Temple and
it was a
Geek,
fun.
we work hard and we play hard.
We play
That's
so hard.
yeah. And the Game Awards, we played hard.
Yeah, so playing hard. So yeah, let's kind of just break down like all the fun we had. We hung out with friends, did a ton of mingling. So the night before, Wednesday the 11th, Danreb and I got invited to the Giant Bomb at Night stream. Um, this was a ton of fun. We got to hang out with like all the Giant Bomb and GameSpot folks there. Shout out to Gian Ochoa for the invite. It's hilarious. I thought it was gonna be like they rented out like a studio space, but it was in their actual like work office. I was like, oh, this is like someone's desk that there's like wine being spilled on and stuff. So it was funny. No, yeah, shout out to them. It was fun. We got to hang out. with like Ben Starr and Sam Lake and stuff like that. And then yeah, the next morning, the morning of the actual awards, Kurosh, you and I, like you said, we got to preview Double Dragon Revive, which you can read on the site for our impressions, and we got to talk to the creative lead, whose name is escaping me. I want to say Hiroshi Nagaki. I could be wrong. Please, someone correct me. The game's developed by Arc System Works as like a revival of this iconic side-scrolling beat 'em up series. I'm kind of lukewarm on it. I like the art style a lot. I think it plays it too safe. I don't think it does enough. I don't feel like there's enough content there. I don't think it takes any risks. Like Kurosh, one of the questions you asked was like, because there's 4 playable characters, you asked them if any of them have like team up abilities or if there's any reason to have like a certain combination of characters, and they didn't really have plans for that. It felt very bare. What did you think? What are your thoughts
I
there?
thought it was interesting. I agree in that I don't think there's going to be a deep, complex system behind it in the way maybe we were looking for. But hearing from the director and then from that there, it's a 4-person team putting this together. I was like, that's crazy that they were giving this franchise that it's may not be like the most world renowned, but you say Double Dragon, it carries some weight with the older
Yeah.
generations, and they handed it to this team. So I feel like there's something there that I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like the direction they're going. His reasoning for what he shared about like there's not as much. Well, I was asking another question in regards to the movements, like you said, with the combos and maybe variety of moves and stuff that maybe expand later. And they were explaining that he comes from a fighting game background from his prior games, and that was the philosophy that they were applying to it. And I found that interesting. So I'm like, oh, now like I didn't go into this beat 'em up with the framing in my head of like a fighting game adjacent in some of it, but I'm curious. I'm hesitantly curious about what they do. What the release date got announced during the Game Awards for October, I think, of next year, sometime
Yeah, yeah.
sometime late next year. So between now and then, I hope they expand on some of the stuff they shared in that preview and maybe get a chance to develop some other stuff. And who knows, maybe they contact you and I for some more consulting, and we pitch some more amazing ideas that they could. Feel free to hit us up.
Yeah.
When I
Um,
saw the planned release date for the game, I wondered why they were showing it so early. Because
yeah, I
typically,
was going to ask
you're
you
not
about that
looking for
actually.
feedback from journalists with something that is typically previewed. They normally show us something that's nearly finished, and at this point, at least 10 months in, right, they pretty much go into polish. But I don't
Yeah.
know what the feedback loop was for you guys, or if you guys could even expound on that. But I found that interesting.
They
Uh,
didn't really. Yeah, yeah. I think they said what it was in development like 4 years. Is
three
that
three or
is
three
that
or
right?
4 years it's been
Mm,
in work. Yeah,
okay.
that rings a bell. um yeah, again, I feel like with a team as small as 4 folks, the pacing and scale may vary. Part of me wonders if this is you nowadays you see so many games do so many different approaches to 1.0 launches, whether it be early access, do
Mhm.
previews in behind closed quarters of like, oh, let's get our community, our niche, like whatever, if it's a fighting game or if it's a shooter game or whatever, they get like some behind closed doors previews to get feedback. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if this is them attempting to do a version of that where it's a preview and, like you said, Danreb, like an early kind of calling your shot kind of thing, or
Mhm.
them trying to see how that might work out for them, to
Um,
gauge that perspective and maybe adjust.
Normally I'd agree, but then they announced the date at the awards, and so like I mean,
That's a good point.
yeah, like if they announce the date, this far in advance, then that signals to me that they're just kind of pretty much done with making the game. So like any big changes, like what we were asking for, doesn't seem too realistic. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm assuming this was a press preview and not a pre-alpha beta, launch.
It seemed polished. I don't know how much of
Yeah.
a vertical slice it was, but it seemed polished. So again, I do find it odd that the date is almost a year away, but.
The main thing that was discussed was of that it hasn't been implemented, but they're looking to implement is elements of other modes besides a story mode of getting in a trial rush mode, a speed mode, um, and other possible modes that they
Yeah,
could
Got it.
incorporate.
The stuff
So
that we won't do.
yeah, yeah. No, that's not enough time. But yeah, so that was fun. Thank you, Steve and Arc System Works for having us. That was a blast. Please have us back. We would love to do it again. Despite me being lukewarm, I really do like this style of game, and I am really looking forward to it. So that only lasted about maybe like a half hour. Kurosh, you and I hung out at the lobby after and just talked, and then the awards weren't for like hours after that. So we all hung out, got food, and changed, and then so the awards themselves. Here we go. Let's just get right into it. So this was a freaking almost 4 hour show.
yeah,
Um, but despite that, I feel like it was paced well, especially compared to last year. This No one was played off stage for their speeches. There was actually a couple of times where most people weren't sure if the speaker was even done yet, and so everyone's like, "Oh, okay, let's go." So yeah, I think it was paced well. The announcements, which we'll talk about here in just a second, pretty much across the board were like banger after banger. There's a lot of cool announcements. And honoring Amir Satvat, is that how you say his name?
Yep, Amir Sadbot.
Yeah, I think that was a really cool touch. It was Jeff Keighley's way of kind of talking about like all the layoffs and all like the stuff that's been happening in the last couple of years. There's a few people who aren't super in love with the fact that that's how they handled it, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other time. So let's start. Let's start with let's just talk about some of the announcements. We're just going to kind of break them all in kind of chronological order from when they were announced. So first off, during the pre-show with Sydney Goodman, they did show off a new trailer for Slay the Spire 2.
yeah.
Oh my god, I can't wait for that game.
I was very surprised it was in the pre-show
Yeah.
while everyone's getting seated. And I know like Slay the Spire isn't maybe like on the level of notoriety to the wide public audience in the same way some of these other games might be on a
Mhm.
blockbuster AAA level, but it's on everything. Like to me, I think of Slay the Spire on the same level as I think of like a Stardew Valley, in that it's just people know of it everywhere.
Yeah.
So that kind of I was happy, but yeah, I was just surprised it was on the pre-show. That's the biggest shock.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the reason why I was on the pre-show is because the main show had so many amazing announcements. So one of the first ones in the main show, which I'm actually stoked about, it's not, it's small, but it's Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, made by Dotemu, Dotemu. I don't know. I've heard people say both. This is the developer who made Blasphemous, which is like it's kind of like an indie Metroidvania. This is like a throwback to the original Ninja Gaiden games, where it's like that 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania style thing. This was like the first announcement they had, and I was hooked immediately. What do you guys think of this?
Danreb, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, first of all, I love Dotemu. Everything they've made as far as like bringing back retro games is awesome. Streets of Rage 4 was one of my top 10 games released that year. And yeah, this
Yeah,
one looked awesome too. When I first saw it, I had Shinobi vibes as well as Tenchu, even though Tenchu was never like a 2D side scroller.
Mhm.
But it has, aspects of it shown in gameplay. And I don't know why I didn't guess Ninja Gaiden. Like that was the obvious choice, especially since like, it's that series has sort of been like reimagined. We've seen it in 3D. We've seen the first three games on Xbox. We've seen Sigma, and like they perfectly brought the series to 3D. So bringing it back to 2D is an obvious choice, and I'm just surprised I didn't see that coming. So this is definitely what I'm excited for.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's see. I'll kind of. I don't think we're gonna have time to talk about everything.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have 4 hours.
No, we don't have 4 hours. Jeff Keighley, my back hurt, by the way.
Wrap it up, Myles.
Okay, so this one's interesting. So last week or the week prior, Secret Level came out on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
The Pac-Man episode was like super weird and like Pac-Man, but now we know why, because it's based on a freaking game. So Shadow Labyrinth, I believe is what it's called. It's basically what that episode was kind of like modeled after. Kurosh, you've seen every episode of this, right?
The episodes they've released thus far, I believe today on the 16th is when the second half of it is going to release. But the
Okay.
first half, I saw the first 6 or 7 episodes, and yeah, that episode was the one that caught me off guard the most, just because it says you're getting Pac-Man, and then what you see is this dystopian kind of Black Mirror esque tone and everything. It's interesting. I love the creative kind of like they went out for it and hit their shot their shot. I think it makes a lot more sense knowing that there's a game now.
Yeah.
That kind of goes in tandem with it. And the way in which the game plays, it's not necessarily a what Pac-Man is typically known for, which is that kind of like arcade cabinet style stuff. It is a almost like a platformer of sorts. I didn't get a good sense if it's going to have elements of Metroidvania or not, but it
Yeah,
seems
so I'm
like it
watching the
might.
trailer right now. It's very Super Metroid vibes, which is
Yeah,
fascinating.
part of me makes me think because of the episode in the show. Had either of you two seen that episode?
I was half asleep, so I need to watch it
Never
again.
seen
You talking about secret level?
the secret level of the Pac-Man episode.
No, I haven't even started it yet.
Okay, there's elements of it that paired with the way this game looks make me think it's a roguelike. Um,
Oh, interesting.
and so that'll be interesting. We'll see. I definitely can see this go a few different directions, but if it plays well, hey, I'm here for it. It's good. Glad. Maybe we'll see Pac-Man on up for some nominees next year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's things I would not expect to see in 2024.
You're right.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the bingo card.
Yeah.
Real
Go ahead,
quick,
Danreb.
all three of us bought our tickets. So we were not invited. So yeah, we were full paying members of the press and the public as we went
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, as you guys mentioned, it was a long show. I went to the bathroom 4 times, which was it's something that I don't typically do. I didn't go to the bathroom during Avengers or like any other long movie, but I did for this, and I thought I was doing a good job. And then this trailer came out. I came in like right towards the end, and I sat next to Kurosh. I
Oh,
was like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Pac-Man," and I thought he was
Pac-Man,
trolling.
dude.
I thought he was trolling me. And then I'm looking at Wario 64's tweets, and I was like, "That was Pac-Man."
You're not pulling my leg.
This is the kind of reinvention of old IP that I'm all about, man. This is cool. Okay, let's move on just a little. Okay, this one was interesting. This is Rematch. It's a soccer game
Yeah.
from, from the studio behind Sifu. Um,
Moan.
I'm not like a soccer person. I actually never played Sifu either, but I know a lot of people are
Oh
popping
man.
off about this game. Yeah, what do you guys think here? You might want to carry this part of the conversation for me.
I have been following, not as like devotedly, but I've been watching this studio from Absolver's days. And Absolver was the game the first game before Sifu, martial arts, but more on the multiplayer side. And I thought it was a really interesting concept, kind of cool. Didn't seem like it fully delivered what it was aiming out for, but it was a good attempt. Then Sifu came out, and it felt like they really nailed the combat, the martial arts stuff that they were trying to do as Absolver, but but they put aside their focus of multiplayer. This seems like a go back to we want to engage in some sort of multiplayer experience of some kind, but in a very different direction. I'm curious how, like, they kept showing highlights of it, and it feels like soccer. It feels very Rocket League esque in a lot of the motifs, where the giant backboard behind it, the score that feels very iconically um, Rocket League esque. But I'm very curious how the moment to moment in the gameplay is going to feel, because that's where it's going to really, like, I think, matter to a lot of soccer fans. But I don't know, Danreb, did you have any strong thoughts on this one, or
The thing about Sifu is that it pretty much mastered the whole. This is a martial arts game through and through, and if you make a mistake, you're gonna die. Like if Jackie Chan, who does all his stunts, got hurt, yeah, he's gonna mess up, and it's big time. Sifu was my game of the year of 2022, and when they showed this game, I wasn't paying attention to the very beginning, but I saw Slow Clap's logo, and I was like, "Kurosh,
Hmm.
is this?" He was like, "Yeah, it said that," and I was like, Okay, cool. I'm not paying attention. But as for like the soccer, like it looks fun. I don't particularly care for like this game, but I'm sure like it's going to be fun. I'm going to give it a try. And if anything, Sifu was really snappy, and if we can get that same sort of snappy gameplay out of this, and the style looks great. I love Sifu's style. I love this style, and if this can be like something, I don't want to say it's Rocket League, but if it can be anywhere near as fun, this could be pretty good. I just don't know if I'd buy this at like $40 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I find interesting. So I don't really do sports games, but I know FIFA. It's kind of like the camera angle is like top down, and
Mhm.
you can see the whole field. This is like behind
Third
the shoulder,
person.
third person. Yeah. So maybe that'll make for some like more dynamic gameplay than like a regular soccer game. But
I'm also excited because I feel like for me, from my side, I know most of the sports category of games every year. It's very typically not simulations, but more so like they're going for a very accurate feel of these sports, and like they do that view
yeah, yeah,
of football, of soccer, of basketball. It's fun for me as an outsider to that to see games of the ilk of NBA Street Volume 2, Blitz, potentially this. I'm curious if this is going to go more the arcadey route without being like a cartoon, and do
I
something kind of a little
I mean,
different.
it
yeah,
already looks like a cartoon, and I'm so
exactly.
it
I
makes
think
me
it's
think
gonna
they'll
go
definitely go the
arcadey.
arcade route.
Yeah,
If you look at like just the backgrounds, I feel like they can add power ups whenever they want, and this can very easily be one of those like default nominations for Sports Game of the Year 2025, just because we don't know what's out yet. And
Sure.
if you ask me, Nintendo dropped the ball with Strikers. So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I feel like there's a gradient from Mario Strikers to FIFA, and this feels like it's in between the two of them. Of
yeah,
like,
well
it
said.
looks more FIFA, like it has humans, but it is more arcadey. So yeah, we'll
I
see.
agree. Solasta 2 was announced. This is a pretty cool top-down, like Diablo looking like game. I've never played the first one. I don't want to know a whole lot about it, but it just looks cool. This is like my style of like high fantasy stuff. But speaking of high fantasy, we got the reveal trailer for The Witcher 4. This was the first like really holy crap moment of this year's show. Basically, it was a cinematic showing off Siri, excuse me, who is now the new playable protagonist. We don't know where Geralt is. I haven't really read all the books. I don't know like the lore here. I don't know how accurately the games go after the books. Correct.
From what I've heard from there was they held some interviews after the show
Hmm.
with some folks, and it sounds like Geralt will be playing a role of some kind throughout the
Okay.
game. Just not, yeah, you will be playing like through the shoes of Ciri in this. So it'll be interesting to see what extent Geralt plays a role in anything, and how much they lean into it or stay away
Mhm.
from it to not like lean on him as too much of a crutch. I'm very curious with what they learned from that. But yeah, this wasn't this like the proper, like when the show had started, they were like, okay, this was the first kind of like announcement of the main show too. I
I
thought
remember.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I don't know. It all blends together in my mind.
it.
But
Yeah, it
yeah,
did.
yeah,
When you're in the audience, you're right. Yeah, it kind of
Yeah,
yeah,
just blends
yeah.
together. But
they definitely kicked the real show off with this one.
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
right
yeah.
on. Yeah, it looks great. You know, Witcher 3 is probably one of the greatest action RPGs ever made. But then like there's a lot of people who were kind of scared just because of how badly Cyberpunk launched. So like I know they just like confirmed this game I think last year or late or I'm sorry this year or late last year. So I'm curious to see how far along in development they are. I don't see this coming out in 2025. I don't think that's. I
Oh,
don't think that.
yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
that's
no, this
realistic.
is out in like
There's no way.
2028, man. We have
Yeah.
nothing to worry about. If you didn't play this,
Okay.
you can play it now and play it again, and it still won't come out yet. So I don't think
Yeah.
we have anything to worry about.
Okay.
So you're saying Danreb, you're saying 2028. Miles, you're saying not 2025. What do you have a?
Yeah, definitely not 2025. I don't think 2026 either. Honestly, yeah, I think 2028 might be like the most realistic thing. I think after Cyberpunk, CDPR might be, wanting to have some good press. So
Yeah. No, I hope they definitely do a smoother launch than Cyberpunk. Um, I am very curious if this will we'll see this further out, because in the vein of like a next gen possible launch, like in that early
Oh,
stages
sure. Yeah.
of launch. Yeah, I'm very excited to see where they take this. And I believe in their last PR statement for CD Projekt Red, there was maybe a investor call or something. They were saying we're planning the next several installments of the
Yeah.
Witcher franchise. So the first of several
Yep.
down the road. So very excited to see where this goes. Big franchise. Glad to
Oh,
see
yeah.
it's not stepping away from its like once Witcher 3 came out, it looked like it was going more in the Hollywood direction with the
Sure.
Netflix stuff. And I
Mhm.
feel like they're enough time has passed now where it's like people have been jonesing to jump back in, play some
Yeah.
matches of Gwent, get in the game, you know, just
Yeah.
live in that world.
I
Plus
believe. Oh, go
that
ahead.
TV show made them some money. So
It did. No, it
Oh,
got
yeah.
notoriety. It got the
oh,
name
yeah, they
out
also
there.
laid off a bunch of people, so that'll make them some money too.
Yeah, I believe they're also remaking the very first Witcher game as well. So like they're really putting all their eggs in the Witcher basket, which is smart. You know, it's a very popular IP.
Yeah,
I'm like halfway through the second book, but the first two books are like short story collections, so it doesn't really start like the main story yet.
Yeah.
But they're very good. It kind of gives a lot of backstory on like how he met Yen, how he came to be series guardian and stuff like that. It's very interesting. That the first season of the show really
Mhm.
touches on a lot. Witcher 4. Any other thoughts?
this is the longest amount of time I've watched anything Witcher. I've never played any game. I've never read any book. I learned that it was a book yesterday, actually, on the Smash Pad podcast, and I've never watched the show. And then, like, my colleagues there told me, "Don't worry, you have time. You can finish all of that in Witcher 4, or still won't come out." So,
Yeah, no, that's true.
I'm hoping in my backlog, once we get through this year and all the games I need to try to finish for this year, I have yet to finish Witcher 3. And I've started it 3 times. No, 2 times. I've started it 2 different times, and I'm like, maybe the third time's the charm. So
Yep. It's
we'll get to it.
it's one of those like huge blind spots I have that like I don't know if I'll nice. I don't ever feel like I'll like actually play it all the way through because like whenever it starts, like I don't really I don't know what's happening. Like I don't because if I'm not mistaken, like you have to play the first two to understand what's happening in the third one.
I feel like you can. I don't. Maybe I need to go back to it, but I feel like they once you start getting into it, it's like, okay, whatever happened has happened, and now you just have the problems of now, and
Yeah.
the context of the old stuff will add layers to it, but you just go from
Okay.
whatever you got.
I guess I bought
Yeah.
this used because I don't remember ever opening this game.
Sweet box though. Nice. No Switch version. Fake fan. Okay.
Trophies.
Yeah. No. Hell yeah. Of course. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming to PC on January 23rd. That's pretty
That
cool.
that was a lot sooner than I thought.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Definitely. Okay. The next big thing. So okay, I'm going off Eurogamer's list. I don't know if this is in chronological order, but who cares? This one is funny because when Jeff Keighley was about to announce it, he said this is a brand new standalone game, and if you watch the show, you know that I'm talking about Elden Ring Night Rain. So this is a new standalone game. It's a multiplayer co-op. From the trailer, I'm watching it right now. It looks very like Monster Hunter ish. And then a couple of our friends the night before were saying like, "Hey, we're actually going to be playing this unannounced Bandai Namco game." I was like, "Oh, interesting. I wonder what it is." So I assume it was this. A lot of people think it's going to be a roguelike as well. So I mean,
Well, there was a bit of I think a presser that lent to that is like each subsequent run there'll be RPG elements that,
okay.
much like other FromSoft games where you'll have stat points and stuff. It sounded like, based on the wording of, I'll try to find it, but
Okay.
I think that's how they'll incorporate those RPG elements, is that you'll do a run and get as far as you can and potentially then try to go. And it's supposed to be a 3-player co-op kind of experience.
Yeah, so it's 3 or you play alone. You can't just play with 2 people. It's really weird. I don't know why that is.
That was
Um,
odd. Yeah, it reminds
yeah,
me of what's that Zelda game? The where it was the
Triforce
fierce
Heroes.
Triforce Heroes.
Triforce Heroes. Yeah,
Triforce Heroes. Yeah.
That was my first
That.
code from Nintendo.
Oh, really? That game
Yeah.
was not that great. I know none of us are really huge Souls like fans, but I'm really interested in this because I like multiplayer. I like Souls likes. This is something I'll definitely play with my brother if I can get codes. Danreb, do you have any excitement for Elden Ring Night Rain?
No, but I'm excited for people that are. And to be
Yeah,
fair though, I've only played like an hour of Elden Ring and I didn't hate it. I don't know why
yeah,
I didn't continue, so I do want to get back to it.
for me, this is interesting. It's very like because I after looking back at the trailer, there are elements, and I'm not a FromSoft Soulsborne pro by any measure, but I've enjoyed. I've played the Elden Ring. I've played Bloodborne a bit. Sekiro I've beaten, which is like I think my crowning achievement. I'm like that game like ruined me. um, but there are elements in this game that hint at non Elden Ring fiction in the same world. So I'm like, how much as much as Elden Ring, as much as FromSoft typically tries to make everything immersive narratively, they'll be like, even though we have the gameplay of whatever we got, there are elements that further a larger plot or story. I'm very curious how that's addressed or spoken to, or maybe not. Maybe they're just like, "There's nothing here, just enjoy." In this game, because it feels like like almost like a fan project. It's like, "Hey, we
yeah. It feels
got
like a mod, right?
kinda, yeah, yeah."
Yeah,
I trust them with in terms of like delivering a product that executes well, but
yeah.
seeing something the literal and it's announced for next year, literally the next year after, I'm like, you guys could take a vacation. You could take
Yeah,
a
go to
break.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it being kind of like not so much canon, but just being like an arcadey style, just like game that kind of like melts all their IPs together. Maybe.
and
I don't
we'll have to keep an eye out too, because whatever date they say in 2025, we should note that that will probably be the date a new Horizon project is announced,
know.
because they just somehow always like to
Gorilla's
put the
cursed, man.
yeah.
They're cursed,
They know
unfortunately.
now. They're like, well, keep your eye out. Don't put anything out in
Yeah,
2025.
yeah. Well, that's what's
Just
going
to
to happen
go
to everyone when
the saying about
GTA 6 comes out.
If
just
it comes out next year.
It's not coming out next year. No way.
Sorry, Danner, what did you say?
Yeah,
you
go.
know just to go off of what you were saying about elements from other Soulsborne games. I was watching the kind of funny reacts the other day, and I'm not taking like the word as God, but like they did like sort of see elements of Bloodborne in there, and like it's really interesting because again, like these are the same developers, right? So it's cool seeing just all of this being put together.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I'm happy for like the diehard fans. Um, Not me, but you know, cool for you. Okay, Elden Ring Night Rain. That looks cool. Another huge one. This is from the creators of Eco and The Last
Oh
Guardian and
yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus. This is Project Robot from Fumito Ueda. I hope I'm saying that right. This is kind of outside of their like more fantasy led kind of styles that they're really known for. It looks like kind of like a kaiju esque, like giant mech sci-fi game. Looks cool. Looks cool. Looks very climb big thing, do fight. How
The
they?
Clyde Big Thing genre.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a climb big thing like.
Yeah, that should be the next genre. This is the one I feel like I've heard. I was asking around at the after parties and stuff, and this is the one that like people remembered, but they were so busy talking about all the other big announcements. I
Yeah,
thought this was huge. I was so enamored by it. It felt like if the Shadow Colossus team had the rights to Evangelion material in some
Mhm.
ways, like the tone and the sci-fi aspects of it just had a gravitas to it that I was like, oh man, I feel like this is eerie but alluring at the same time, and I'm captivated in a weird way, and I don't know whether it's going to be tragic. I don't know what, like, so much is it's very much a teaser, but I'm
Yeah.
very interested in this.
Dan,
Have
have any
either of you
thoughts?
played? Oh yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, have either of you guys played Shadow Colossus or last any of those other games?
I played Eco as a kid, but I don't remember much. I really wanted to experience Shadow of the Colossus because I'm aware of its place in the zeitgeist. I've never played it, but I would like to. Yeah.
Yeah, I have them all, but I haven't really touched any
You
of them. I
just you
played
just own
Evo
them.
for like 45 minutes, but
Yeah,
that's about it.
right on. Yeah, this looks cool. I don't think there was a date on this trailer here. I think it just said coming soon. Yeah, no, this is great. I believe these are PlayStation exclusives, so as we'll find out later on, PlayStation's about to have a pretty good next couple of years.
No, this one was in partnership. I remember seeing the header. It was in partnership with Epic Games,
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting.
which is very yeah. It is interesting with the history of this team typically being PlayStation.
Yeah.
It's now going to be available at a wider audience. We'll see. I'm very curious.
I mean, it's always good to have more eyes on your game. So we'll see. We'll also see if they stick with the name Project Robot. It's a super generic name. So we'll see. Okay, this next one I'm really excited for. The Outer Worlds 2 from Obsidian. I'm a huge Elder Scrolls kind of Bethesda RPG fan. I'm really looking forward to this. Outer Worlds 1 is like Starfield light, but I do feel like it might have had more depth than Starfield did. Um, and yeah, I'm really excited for Outer Worlds 2. What do you guys think of this one?
Danreb, do you want to go?
Oh, sorry,
Oh
I
no,
should
go
probably
ahead.
say your name.
Okay.
I put Outer Worlds, but I don't have much feelings about it. So
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I think it's interesting. I was very excited about it. The thing that's interesting to me is the release date. It said 2025. No specific date or month, but the Obsidian is also releasing Avowed in what, February, March,
Yes.
and that's also an RPG of a different sort. But I'm like, two RPGs from the same studio. I hope they don't like. I remember seeing this once in what I forget what year it was, but EA had released a Battlefield game, and then Call of Duty came out. No, Battlefield, and then Titanfall 2, and then Call of Duty came out like a month after. And I felt like Titanfall 2 was left to die because of that, amongst other reasons, maybe. But because EA launched both of them within a small window of each other. I just hope that Outer Worlds 2 gets released enough apart from Avowed that it's not double dipping into the RPG space from the
Yeah.
same folks that
Well,
would be interested.
Avowed was supposed to be out like a few weeks ago, and then they claim they delayed it just to give people a break on their backlog. That's what they claim. I can see this coming out in like the latter half of 2025. I would imagine that it's the same studio. Like you said, they're not going to want to cannibalize like the time and like income.
Yeah.
Also, it's coming day and date on PS5, which is great.
Really? Okay, that's cool.
okay, yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say that's interesting because Obsidian's obviously owned by Xbox now, but obviously
Yeah.
they don't have the same like exclusives deal anymore as they're trying to release and everything, make all that money
Mhm.
possible. Who can blame them? But yeah, I don't really see them having the same issue as EA did with the shooting games,
Hmm.
especially since Avowed isn't really a pew pew kind of game. So, you know,
True. I know this year was a big sign for me that RPG fatigue was real,
yeah,
and
yeah.
when they're back to back, and I was like, I don't want it for people to be like, I have to pick between them.
Oh, well, I mean, like
Yeah, yeah,
this year was pretty kind to the Japanese RPGs, so I don't see why it can't be the same for the Western folks.
yeah. But it wasn't kind for our time. That's the problem. um, that's a good point though. The Outer Worlds 1, like before you played any of the expansions or anything, like you could get the whole experience in maybe like 40 hours, like
Oh, okay.
which is short for like this style of game. So maybe Outer Worlds 2 will be just hopefully that kind of bite-sized game. Yeah.
Yeah, we're also at a point where Xbox announced that acquisition like a long time ago now, and we haven't really seen the fruit of that labor yet.
Uh,
And releasing two a year is a lot, but at the same time, it's like okay, we know they're working on something. We
Yeah.
know
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I feel like the first real thing that has felt like an Xbox win has been Indiana Jones, honestly. Like that's been the first time I felt like they've been doing something, and it's like you can't get this on a PlayStation console.
Yeah.
And
But it's
and
coming in the
yeah,
spring.
you're right.
Yeah.
I feel like that was Starfield.
Starfield, yeah,
For
yeah,
me,
I
that
can
was
see that argument too. That's a good point.
That was last year though. I assume you just mean for 2024 though, Crush. Because yeah, other than Indiana
Yeah,
Jones, I can't think of anything else that was like huge this year. Hellblade was probably the most beautiful game I've ever seen, but it was also kind of I don't want to say boring, but it didn't blow me away.
Okay.
But it's beautiful. It's the most gorgeous game I've ever seen, of course.
Yeah, this
Okay,
makes me curious for Outer Worlds too, for
yeah.
sure.
Next thing on the list here, Split Fiction. This is the next game from Joseph Ferris, who made It Takes Two. Uh, as usual, this guy is eccentric and hilarious, and he goes up on stage and just drops f bombs like it's going out of style. Hilarious. But like this game actually looks great. It Takes Two won Game of the Year 2022. I
2021.
2021. That game's incredible. Co-op kind of platformer puzzle story based thing. Split Fiction looks to be like the exact same kind of concept, but instead of like people about to get a divorce, it's these two writers enter a simulation. One writes sci-fi, one writes fantasy, and then their worlds kind of like mix. But yeah, it's the same kind of co-op uh, mechanics that you would expect from this. Danreb, what do you think?
Yeah, It Takes Two was my game of the year 2021. It's
It's so
funny, during
good,
that time,
so
that
good.
was when my company was bought by EA. So when I wrote my review, I had to like say, "Oh, I work for EA, but I don't work on this team." And EA Originals isn't really like EA anyway. It's just an initiative to pay indies, and they're the one that really has gotten the most excitement and money just because of all the great press they've gotten. Anyway, yeah, Joseph Ferris's games are awesome. Going back to A Way Out, A Way Out is another game that I
Mhm.
really enjoyed, and this one looks. I don't want to say more of the same because that's a great thing. Part of what made It Takes Two great was the fact that it genre hopped a lot, but at the same time, every genre it jumped into felt like a polished game. There was a fighting game in there. There was some StarCraft. It's a full on platformer, and like those games are tremendously fun. And the best thing about it, as he says in his trailer, is you only need one copy of the game to play online.
Yeah.
And the big thing about this one is that it's completely non-reliant on the console. You can play on Xbox and play with somebody on PlayStation, and that wasn't the case with It Takes Two. So yeah, totally excited about this one. No microtransactions. It is everything that EA doesn't do, and I'm happy about it. Looks great.
Yeah.
And also, two female leads. So he's found the
Yeah,
perfect
yeah.
balance. Like the A Way Out was two guys. It Takes Two was a married couple, and this one has two ladies. So I'm ready.
Yeah, this looks
It's
great.
out in March too. We're right there. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, March 25. No exact date, but just March.
I think it's
Yeah,
in March 6th.
did it? Okay, there
Yeah.
we go. Kurosh, any thoughts on this thing?
I'm looking forward to it. I love everything Danreb was saying about like how consumer friendly it is. It's they're thinking of the players. They want to make this as easy for you to be able to access.
Right.
I mean, it's always the thing. It's like you want to play a game that maybe like a co-op thing like this, where it's like it's intended for two or more, however many players, and they're doing everything they can to accommodate for that, to really say like this is how you're supposed to. There's no other alternative. It's like this is how you're supposed to play it, and we're going to go the extra mile to make sure that happens. On top of that, they deliver polished products. They, it comes out the gates, the pedigree of those prior games, all of them I've had a chance to like dip into It Takes Two. I'm still hoping to finish it. One of my friends and I, he jumped in for a day with me, and we got through a lot of it. But
It's
um,
relatively
it
short.
was it was fun. I loved my time with it,
Real quick,
and
did you get to the elephant?
yes,
Okay.
he I it was hard, but I sympathized for him because I asked him to help me finish up another friend's playthrough with me, so he had no context for what was happening, and all of a sudden he sees the things happening. He's like, "What's going? What did you ask me to take part in?" But great game. I'm excited. This is one of those like hell yeah. It's fun being into games and seeing him and his team make some fun stuff. I'm stoked.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, next up, another really big thing for a ton of people. Not quite my wheelhouse. We got the first gameplay for Borderlands 4. Randy Pritchford came on stage. Do people hate this guy? I don't really know his reputation.
He's he's very cocky and like gets he's loud on online. I'll say that.
Sure,
I
sure,
think,
I feel that.
and yeah.
Okay, but yeah, yeah. I mean, from what I know, from what I've heard from friends who love these games, is that it doesn't take place on Pandora anymore. It's like a completely new planet, but it's still just scrubbing through the trailer here. It still kind of looks like the same kind of looting and shooting that you'd expect from these games. I've only played Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which
Okay.
I know is not really like it's the same, but it's not the same. Um, I'm happy for the people who love it. This isn't quite for me. This is another one that just says 2025, which it's interesting because in my mind, I feel like three like just came out, but apparently it's
It's
years
been
old at this
around.
point.
Yeah.
Kurosh, what do you think about Borderlands 4? Are you excited for this?
Um, Borderlands is a huge franchise. It's got a huge audience. I think it'll do well. I don't think it's doing anything new, which is what caught me off guard when they first did the initial. I think I forgot what was it. Was it during Summer Games Fest or was it sometime earlier? When they did an initial, just like it was the cover or something.
Yeah, it was
That
either SGF
trailer.
or like Gamescom or something. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, yeah, that trailer or that teaser made me feel like they were doing a new direction art wise and a new direction tonally, much in the vein of like how God of War 2018 kind of took what was familiar and did something different with it.
Mhm.
That's what I was thinking this was going to be. And the more the trailer went on, the more I was like, this feels like it's going back to tried and true methods. And hey, if they're seeing success with it, that's for them. I don't know how much of it I'll be around for. I've played all the mainline Borderlands games. It's fun, but it's not what I used to enjoy. It's not what I'm into anymore. The
Yeah.
humor
Yeah, I feel like I've
doesn't hit
aged out
the.
of it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much like it feels like I've just aged out of it a bit, but it's fun. It's a co-op thing.
Yeah.
You can hang out, play games with friends. What do you think, Danner?
Yeah, Borderlands is a game that I haven't touched, although like I bought them all just for the sake of like supporting developers and publishers and stuff.
Yeah.
And then after all the stuff with Pitchford came out, I didn't really interact anymore. I do want to play Tales from the Borderlands because I've heard nothing but good things about that one.
Same.
And
Yeah.
as for the humor that you brought up, that's actually the reason why I want to play. It has nothing to do with the gameplay because I hate first person anything, but
Hmm.
it does look fun. And like you played the first two, so I'm assuming like at least those are fun.
Yeah.
Borderlands 2 is like widely regarded as like the best looter shooter of all time, at least up until we got
Like Overwatch and all them.
no, what is it freaking called? Destiny. Sorry.
Uh,
Yeah. But I I think Destiny's better. Okay, Borderlands 4. None of us seem to be super into it. This one's interesting. Okay, Tekken 8 is getting Clive from Final Fantasy 16. This was a cool announcement. When they showed Clive on stage, I thought it was going to be like another expansion. A lot of people were hoping that they were going to bring Tifa from Final Fantasy 7, which I think would have been awesome. I think it makes sense, but Clive also makes a lot of sense. I think it was Tekken 7 had Noctis from Final Fantasy 15, so that relationship's already there. Kurosh, you seem really into this.
I'm just looking at Danner's reaction. What do you think, Danner?
Yeah, what do you
you guys
thought?
know why we didn't get Tifa, right?
Why did we get Tifa?
I don't know.
What does Harada always say?
I don't know. I'm not a Tekken sicko. I have no idea. What does he
Don't
say?
ask me for bleep.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So as a result, we got trolled by this, and if it helps, Ben Starr posted a photo of himself as Tifa.
As Tifa on his on his social.
So we technically got her. I think this is fun. Yeah, definitely not what I think fans were hoping for, but I think it's a cool fit and it
Yeah.
caught me
Oh, yeah,
off
definitely.
guard. Tekken 8's already a great game, so
Uh, my only thing is that I mean I don't know how you guys use Clive in Final Fantasy, but he's always been a sword user to me. So with that
Yeah.
being said, he's more of a Soul Calibur guy than a Tekken guy to me. But I'm
Oh,
so excited to
I completely agree with that.
I can see
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
it's interesting that you bring that up because I was thinking like I wonder what his movesets like. Can you customize it and use like the different icons and stuff from the game? I imagine they'll inject some of that personality into Tech. It'd be weird if they didn't because that's what they did with Noctis, and that's just kind of like the nature of having like a guest character like this in a fighting game. Yeah, it looks cool. The stage that him and I think it was Jin were fighting on, had Ifrit and Phoenix in the background fighting.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so cool. It made me want to go back and replay that Bahamut fight.
Oh, that fight was nuts.
God,
Well,
so
Joshua.
good. This is my brother Joshua. We all have our own Ben Starr impression, and none of it's good. None of them are good. Okay, let's move on. We'll stick with fighting games for a bit. They announced a new Virtua Fighter, they
Yeah.
being RGG. You know, it's another 3D fighting game that has like a big audience that's been asking for it. I've never played them, but the crowd popped off hard for this one.
It came out of like the way they was. It was a lot of times Game Awards trailers. I feel like there's a bit of surprise moment, and this was one of those where I was everything they were showing did not make me think Virtual Fighter,
I
and then
was
all
not
of a
expecting that
sudden,
at all.
bam, and that was cool. Also, I popped because of how loud the audio got during these two trailers. It was this one and the next one. I don't know what they just cranked the volume up in the theater. I
Yeah, it was
forgot.
like extra loud. I don't know if we were like sitting under the speakers or anything, but it was like I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter looks cool. So they also announced like a game right after that, Project Century. Don't think we know what it is. It was just like a cinematic and like 1915 Japan. I think this guy's it's just like another kind of brawler. Danreb, you seem to be into this.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Brett Brombacher from or
Yeah,
the blonde nerd, formerly What's Good Games. She went absolutely like ape nuts over anything RGG, and I was
okay.
doing the same thing. Virtual Fighter is one of my favorite fighting game genres. I believe that's credited as the first 3D fighting game. This was
I
what
believe so.
actually inspired Tekken. So yeah, really excited. It's been too long since we've had a Virtual Fighter game, and yeah, it was made by like Suzuki Studio back then, and I think they folded into RGG, which is why you're seeing RGG doing way more things than just Yakuza. And yeah, Virtua Fighter 4, obviously they didn't show anything, but it has a lot of promise. And then for Project Century, I don't know what 1915 Japan looks like. I'm more of like the era before that and then the era of Japan now. And I don't know if that's accurate, but it looks badass. You know, just seeing or playing Yakuza and beating guys up is a whole lot different than just walking around Japan and just straight up murdering people. So it should be a fun game.
Yeah, it looks cool. I hope we get more information soon. Okay, so we talked a bit about interesting ways to revive old franchises and really, really shocking announcements. We got Turok Origins coming from Universal and Saber. Um,
Turok's
I
back, baby.
did not have this on my radar at all, but I'm so in. This looks freaking awesome. Luckily, it's not Arc. Don't worry about that. This looks cool. I was a big fan of the N64 game. So, Jenner, you were shaking your head. What do you think about Turok Origins? We
Your
can't hear
audio
you.
cut.
Am I good now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're good.
Sorry. Turok's never been good. They
I didn't say it's good. I just said I have nostalgia for it.
Mute him again. Mute him again.
they remastered it and it still wasn't good, so they keep trying to bring it back. And yeah, this looked good, but it wasn't gameplay, so I don't really have a real opinion on this
I
one.
think it was at the end. Let me see here. You might be right. Kurosh, while I'm scrubbing through, what do you think of this?
There's a brief glimpse of gameplay like at
Yep.
the tail end of
Right
it.
at
It's
the
like
end,
third
yeah.
person. I was more just taken aback by the IP being brought back, but
Yeah.
the thing is, Saber just was involved with Space Marine 2,
Fair.
and to go if that gave that was one of those games this year that came out that was a very polished product, but it was very much a in the gameplay a game of a past era in the best way possible. It
Yeah,
had just
totally.
like team deathmatch. It had a very straightforward campaign, but a lot of fun. It just delivered on all those just simple checkbox, but like does it so well. I'm wondering if that like could be something that Turok Origins offers and is just, hey, you're here for a short time, but a great time, and you're having a blast. We're gonna make you feel epic and crazy and do some cool shit, and
Yeah,
that's a wrap. Thanks. We'll see you next time, kind of thing. We'll see.
By
I think
Origins, I hope they mean they're not, you know, talking about the other Turoks because we should.
Well, it's a prequel. Yeah, no, I think if they have this be like the drop in, drop out multiplayer like Space Marine 2, I feel like that would serve this IP much better than to bring it back to being like a narrative thing. Just because it's big dumb action. He's grabbing Triceratops and wrestling with it. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
but
Like,
but
um,
even
yeah,
even if it did a story, I feel like they just lean hard into the Doom-esque story of like you're the badass silent protagonist, and here's a dinosaur. Go. What killed the dinosaurs? Turok.
yeah. Turok killed the dinosaur.
Yeah, that's the real answer.
Okay, we're gonna just kind of speed through just a little. We're almost at an hour. Warframe 1999 gets its final trailer and release date, which was the day. It was 2 days after December 14th, which was Saturday. Pal World is getting an update. They're still mid lawsuit to my knowledge, but I don't really know how that's going. It's not really in the news anymore. They're getting a big update.
They're not gonna lose anything from that.
Yeah. Okay, this show was all about shocking announcements and reinventing or bringing back franchise. Onimusha, Way of the Sword, coming 2026. Capcom, I think, might be perfect. I don't think they can do anything wrong at all. But just wait, we'll get into Capcom in a bit. Onimusha is back, and I can't wait for this game, dude. Oh my god, it looks so good. What do you guys think?
I don't have the nostalgia for Onimusha like a lot of people do, mainly because when I played the original way back when, it was essentially just like, you know, Resident Evil with a sword, and it wasn't polished in that regard. So that being
Yeah, it
said, I
was.
never actually tried Warlords, but I'm glad it succeeded enough for them to go ahead and revive it because this is a series that I would like, and yeah, like, and Tim Geddes gets everything he wants, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. This doesn't look like it's going to have that classic tank controls. Like, of course, they've moved away from that from the more modern Resident Evil games. This looks more kind of like a Souls-like ish type of game.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kurosh?
I think it looks great. Like everything, I want to see more. That's like all I can really say is,
Yeah.
the cinematic show is cool. 2026 is it seems like is what they're aiming for.
Yes.
Let's polish this sucker off and get a smooth launch out of it. And I think Capcom has proven, and it's kind of in some ways I feel like after Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter World, they've been on the upswing. Like it was,
Oh yeah.
slight missteps here and there, but overall, just like banger after banger after banger. And I love this trajectory for them. They've just been on an uprise, and they should just keep going with that, ride that momentum. So I'm
Yeah. So we got a lot of cool stuff from Capcom. None of it was Resident Evil 9, and it felt that felt like an obvious thing. But I mean, maybe it's just not ready. But that's okay. Take your time with that. I will happily play Resident Evil 4 for the 5th time.
We can take a break from Resident Evil. It seems like Silent Hill is back anyway. So
Silent Hill, yeah, it was very good, very good. First Berserker Kazan coming March 2025. Dying Light: The Beast gets a new release window, which is going to be summer 2025. Both these games not quite my thing, but I understand that they have their audiences. Do you guys have any quick thoughts about these guys?
It was just interesting seeing the two brother directors from the Avengers film.
Oh, that's right.
presenting
Yeah,
the first Berserker.
the Russo brothers are.
The Russo brothers. Yeah, I was like,
are they involved in the game, or was that just a weird plug that?
I couldn't tell. Like it wasn't clear to me based on how it was being presented. I didn't know if they're producing, if they're involved in any creative capacity or what. But
yeah, because of that, I didn't even know if they were showing a game. I thought it was a movie or something.
yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, is it not a manga or some sort of anime? I believe it's based on a different IP and different medium. I could be wrong. I'm gonna move on.
Yeah.
Stage Fright.
Oh, that's the Overcooked folks.
Hold on, guys. 1 second. I might be having issues. I'll try to make this quick. Okay. Yes. Stage Fright, new game from the creators of Overcooked. It looked suspiciously like It Takes Two. I was like, it's just like the same, but it's not. It's not. Yeah, I'd never actually played Overcooked, but I'm aware it's
Oh man,
it'll make you stop being friends with a person. That's That's all I've heard about it.
You'll learn what people are really like. You'll see it in the show.
Got it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Mario Party doesn't stress people out. It just makes you mad. Overcooked just makes you do everything bad possible to a person without touching them, and then shoot them. And
Awesome.
yeah, Stage Fright doesn't look like anything of that brand at all. Yeah, like you said, it kind of looks like It Takes Two. Just a little bit less of a budget there, but
Yep.
that's the kind of game I like. And if it's only two players, I am totally down because me and my brother love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Overcooked is good though, Miles. You should play it with your fiance.
Well, I mean, I want to stay in a relationship with her, so maybe
Yes.
not. Okay. This one's interesting. So, Game of Thrones King's Road, new Thrones theme action RPG, in the universe as the show. It has all the same face models. Danreb, I'm inclined to agree with you. I want to know when this takes place because there's a handful of characters that are alive. Yes, what? Correct.
It's in. I read the presser on this. It's between seasons 4 and 5, or around
Okay.
season 4 is when it's supposed to take place.
Cool. I mean, I feel like Thrones makes a good backdrop for a game in theory. I am in the boat of the last like 2 seasons were absolute dog water, so I don't know how stoked I am for this. It depends on the gameplay. If it played anything like
Yeah, like it doesn't matter how good or bad the last two seasons of Thrones were. We're past that now. We already know what happened to these people. They're either dead or alive. Most of them are dead. And I have. Are we still on? Because
I don't know.
okay, I don't know whether I should talk or something.
I would just keep
Yeah,
going,
just
and
keep
we'll
going.
see if we fix them.
Keep going. Yeah, and I just don't see what the point of this game is. Like, people who aren't watching. Yeah.
oh, you're fine. No, I'm just going to be transparent and tell the audience that our podcast crashed. So we're going to splice in this other half real quick. It's only going to be maybe about another 20
Right.
minutes. Dan, yeah. So before we got crapped on, we were talking about Game of Thrones King's Road. Dan, go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah. Well, when I saw this, I rolled my eyes. I wished I was at the bathroom at the time of it being shown. Just because like we're past this already. Like it doesn't matter how good or bad the last 2 seasons of the show was. They already yucked our yum. Like I don't care to go back to Castle Black and see Jon Snow there. We already know
Yeah.
what ends up happening to him. And if the whole idea is for us to bring relevance back to a family who never mattered or was shown on TV, I don't care. I would much rather see a sequel to the Game of Thrones Telltale series than I would to this. But yeah, this is Netmarble. This is a mobile game. I guess they're gonna like appeal to those people, but I don't know how they'll care either because the other Game of Thrones mobile games are not doing well at all either.
Yeah. Okay, skip these. Last of Us 2 is coming to PC. Big shocker there, April 3rd. Sonic Team Racing Cross Worlds. So I'm not a big Sonic guy at all. Dan Rib, I know you are. What do you think of this one? Is this,
Sonic All Stars Racing Transformed is one of the best kart racers of all time. So it's great that they're bringing this back, but they showed us nothing. So not much to say here.
Yeah, just a quick trailer with Shadow and his sick car.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on just a little. Sorry, guys, I don't want to take too long. Mafia: The Old Country. We got a cinematic and I think some gameplay of this. This looks sick. I never played the original games, but this is, I like mob stories and stuff like that. Let me see. I don't think there's gameplay. I think it's all story. I'm in based on the setting. It's like 1920s Sicily. Very, very into this. What do you guys think?
It's been a series that I've never really gotten into. Looks interesting. I think it's one I'll have to wait and see more of. It looks like summer 2025. So
yes.
Yeah, next year's stacking up. Keep track of these games because we'll be doing our little fantasy critic. So
we
got some contenders here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Next year, 2025 might be the biggest year in games because we have all these bangers and everything else that we know about. Plus, likely we're going to be having the Switch 2. 2025 is going to suck in the best way possible. It's going to be awful, but great at the same time. Danreb, are you excited for Mafia?
I've never played a Mafia game.
Yeah,
I don't know if the old country will, you know, make me excited because the old country does not excite me. I'd rather have the new country. But
for sure, for
also
sure.
like the new country in the future that doesn't look nice either. So I don't know if I'll ever care aside from,
Fair enough.
like Kurosh said, well maybe it'll score high on Fantasy Critic and it'll change my mind, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't see much of a reason to.
sure. Okay, Dispatch. This is kind of I don't know if I want to call it indie. It's from Ad Hoc. This is former Telltale devs. This announcement trailer was preceded by one of the most awkward, uncomfortable interactions of all time. It was Laura Bailey and Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad fame, just kind of like getting way too close together and just like will they, won't they? It's not relevant to anything. I have to talk about it. Okay. So yeah, this is let's see here. The cast in this game is absolutely stacked. You have, of course, Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, Jeffrey Wright's in there.
Yeah.
A
See, there's
lot of
several
people.
others.
Yeah, Travis Willingham, Matthew Mercer's in it. Yeah, it just looks like a kind of like visual novel. So like the premise is you're like a police dispatcher, but
For
for
superheroes.
heroes. Yeah. So it looks interesting. I really like all the cast and former Telltale devs. So you really
Yeah.
can't go wrong there. Yeah. What do you guys think of this, Danrep?
Yeah, I love the Telltale games, so I was immediately jumping for this one. And like just the visual style is great. I can't tell if this was fully hand drawn and it'll be scripted in that way, or if there was definitely some engine in there. But the main thing with Telltale is that people have criticized them for not changing up the engine, and this changes that. I
Sure.
don't. I also don't know if you mentioned Alana Pierce. She's in the game too, so
Yep.
that's
I did.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm stoked for this. I've enjoyed those Telltale games. They're surprisingly the first time I experienced one was at Comic Con. Greg Miller was hosting a party for, or he was the host of it, but it was like play through episode 1 of Batman, the Telltale Batman one,
Wow.
Makes
Throwback.
and
sense.
it was like every decision. They built a version of it where the timer wouldn't go, so it's like they would just ask the crowd, "What do you
Yeah,
guys want to see happen?"
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it introduced me to these games as being kind of like a party game in a way, of like
Sure.
having friends over, watching an episode of something, and but making a decision as a group. So
it's a good stream game if you have an audience.
yeah, that too. Yeah,
Definitely. Okay, the next big series revival here. I did not see. I was not expecting this at all. So this is the sequel to Okami. Um, Holy crap! This is super out of left field. Very excited for it. Hideki Kamiya is back with the new studio Clovers. I don't believe we have a date on this. They really
no,
didn't show gameplay. Just kind of just Amaterasu just running through a field, but it's beautiful. If you never played the original, it's like a beautiful pastel color style Zelda like. Really good. I would play the updated HD version, which is it's always on sale. It's on every platform. It's really good. Kurosh, do you have any hype for Okami's sequel?
I do now. Like after that drum intro and the
It's so
way
good.
Keeley like presented it, it made me feel like I should care, and I
Yeah,
think there's something to be said for that. It's like hearing someone passionately pitch a game that may just have been like a, oh hey, this might be just a niche target audience, big success. I feel like that bolstered it, and putting it on a stage like this and giving it a presentation, that's what I feel like the Game Awards is capable of doing. And this, I think, like hit it, like took that ball and ran, and I was like, hell yeah, that was really cool. I thought everything about the reveal of it, the announcement of it, did not expect it at all.
no,
As we were talking about all the things we were not expecting, this was definitely not on my bingo card.
no.
uh,
This was on nobody's radar.
yeah, so I'm stoked. That's cool. This is awesome.
Danner,
Yeah,
what do you think?
Jeff treated it like it was really special, and yeah,
Yeah.
it was because it had musical accompaniment, and like I'm gonna show you like how my face was as it was being shown, and I was like,
What?
so Okami
Okay.
is my very first Wii game, and that is the best way to play the game because that was
Yeah, the
it
most.
allowed you to use the Wii remote in a way to actually draw all the stuff.
Yep.
And like, yeah, we call it a Zelda like, but that was very much a Zelda game. I'm pretty sure Twilight Princess's Wolf was inspired by what was done with Okami, and it is fantastic. Okami Den on
On the
DS, I
DS. Yep.
believe, is also really good. Not as good, but definitely
Yeah.
awesome. And the reason why this is a surprise is because this game was a sales failure. It's initially what led to Kamiya leaving Capcom in the first place. But yeah, now that they have them all back, and he with Clovers, he actually took 20 people from Platinum with him because that's how much of a genius he is.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was this, and the coolest thing was that when I saw it, I was like, "Are they making Kunitsugami too?" And then I was like, "Oh,
That's what I thought about Onimusha. I
yeah,
was like, that looks like the guy, the like the little enemies from
yeah,
Path of
exactly." And
Goddess.
like it's I was saying it throughout the whole time. I'm pretty sure Kurosh was annoyed, but I was like, "Capcom, don't miss.
Yeah.
Let's go."
That's what
So
I'm saying, man. They're
yeah,
perfect. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Danreb was like, he's the goat.
yeah.
He's like, oh.
Exactly. Like the only thing Capcom hasn't brought back was Beautiful Joe and Breath of Fire, and maybe if these games succeed, we'll get those, and I
Launch
think they will
Switch 2
succeed.
games.
So yeah,
I want. Okay, so after this was announced, I believe like there was interviews today or Friday where someone at Hype Capcom said that they're extremely interested in bringing back old franchises. So yeah, like uh, Parasite, Eve, Dino Crisis, stuff like that. A new Breath of Fire? Are you kidding me? Like I think they're interested in bringing back that niche stuff again, and
mhm.
I would be all over that. I'd be all
Yeah.
over
Parasite Eve is Square though.
that. What did I say?
You said Parasite
Did I
Eve
say
and Dino
Parasite Eve?
Crisis.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
my bad. I meant Dino Crisis. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. Last game here. Naughty Dog's new IP product placement. The game. Uh, Intergalactic, The Heretic Prophet. We did not get gameplay, but based off Naughty Dog's most recent IPs, Last of Us and Uncharted, we can assume it's going to be like a third-person action game. Um, this looks great, very sci-fi, kind of like Star Wars. You play as a bounty hunter, and you're looking for Kumail Nanjiani. So that's dope. Shout out to Javier Perez at Mesh Modeler for keeping this a secret from me. He's been working on the game, and he didn't he didn't spill the beans.
Kept it.
Yeah, he kept a lid on it. Good for him. Danreb, what do you think of Intergalactic?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw this game, I pretty much thought it was Naughty Dog. And I mentioned it during dinner. I was kind of like caught off guard because there was some weirdness to the facial animation that made me think maybe it's not Naughty Dog. It could be something else. And then my thoughts changed again when the protagonist put on her leather jacket. I was like, that's something that's almost impossible to animate. And I think back to Last of Us Part Two with the
I
kiss,
know
which is
exactly
also
what you're talking about. Yep,
impossible
yep,
to
yep.
animate. I've never played a game that had a kiss like that accurately looking, and yeah, like it definitely had it all here. I don't know how necessary it is to have all the branding, whether it be Adidas, Porsche as a spaceship. It
Yeah.
is interesting. I guess they really want to give you the anachronistic feel, but yeah, I am excited for it, which is I want to say is a little strange because I don't typically care for like games with space themes. But what really like revived my thoughts of it was seeing the end with that lightsaber Buster Blade thing, and Naughty Dog, to my knowledge, has not made a hack and slash. We don't know what this game will end up being. I know there were a lot of rumors about them making something more fantastical, and that doesn't mean they can't do it. Like, yeah, it's a
Sure.
sci-fi game, but maybe you can go to another planet or to another landmass in that planet to see fantasy stuff. And yeah, it looks great. Naughty Dog hasn't had a new IP in over 10 years, and I'm ready.
Ready. Kurosh, Intergalactic. What do you think?
I'm into it. I'm so on board with this. I was scrubbing through the trailer to see what kind of cool nitty little tiny details I could get. There was that bulletin board. Dan, during the trailer, I think during the award, you were like, "There's always this is always in their games," and
Yeah.
you were right. And like they if you freeze frame on it, you see certain other likenesses, and one of the actors that is tied to the project is Tony Dalton, who played
Yes.
Lalo Salamanca, and I love his portrayal of
He
Lalo
is
Salamanca.
so he's like one of the best TV villains of all time, dude. So
Yeah, he's amazing. He's also in Hawkeye as
Yeah,
well.
when he was
But
in
yeah,
Hawkeye, I was like, bad guy, bad guy,
yeah,
bad guy.
yeah. So I was stoked to see that, and I'm curious to see who else will be in this game. I was actually, I think it was earlier. It was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday on the 15th. There was an article Druckmann did with New York Times talking about how the story is going to revolve around a fictional religion and explore what happens when you put your faith in different institutions, and that this is going to be set in a faraway retro future centered around a mysterious planet, Semperia, which is cut off from the rest of the universe. And your main protagonist, Jordan A. Munn, a bounty hunter on a mission to the celestial body to unravel its secrets. So, premise, team development team, and everything else, I'm like, I'm ready for some new IP from this studio.
Another
As much
religion.
as they've been doing like revamps and remasters of all their top games, I'm like, I'm ready for a new franchise.
oh yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be sort of in the same world as like The Last of Us, because when you brought up religion, I was like, could this be the Seraphites? Is
I
that why
feel
she's
like
bald? The
I don't
way
know
that
if
she's
they'll
shaved
like
or
mix their
something?
IPs like that. So the trailer opens with a quote, and it says it ends. It says ancient Semperian scripture, 1986. So it's like
Mm.
thousands of years in the future. So
I feel like if you're going to talk about it crossing over with anything, what if this is the world that Crash Bandicoot originated from?
hell yeah.
And it's like a modern retelling of Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot. And you're like, you see this guy just spinning in circles, blowing up crazy. It's like, oh shit.
I'm just not
Yeah,
ready
so this
to
is great.
give up my bet that this game is somewhat based on those collectible cards found in Last of Us Part 2.
There could be, yeah, I can see that.
Well, yeah. The Naughty Dog games are they're also like known for like teasing what's next in like the most recent game. So I wonder if like you said, if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah, they're very much like
that's-
Pixar in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes. Let's just very quickly. I want to go through the actual awards winners. We'll skip some small ones or whatever, so we can just talk about it. Most anticipated game, Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm not shocked there. There's a lot of games that really could win, but I also don't think this is coming out in 2025. What do you guys think here?
I mean, I'm not surprised by it winning that award. I don't think there's a criteria for was the criteria for 2025 or just most
See,
anticipated.
I'm not sure it's
Whatever it is,
clear.
it's going to win again next year.
Yeah.
And if it comes out in 2025, I'm going to buy you both a copy of the game. You can go ahead and clip this. Well, I'm that confident right now.
Free
Yeah,
game, free video game. Okay, yeah. I just want to highlight ones that we talked about on our last
Sure.
predictions episode. Best adaptation, Fallout. That was my vote. I feel like Fallout and Arcane were the only real adaptations in the conversation. All three of the other projects, Knuckles, Yakuza, and Tomb Raider, reviewed poorly. Fallout, I'm happy with. Arcane, I need to watch the rest of it.
That's good.
Multiplayer game, Helldivers 2 won. I feel like that was another shoe in. I could have seen Space Marine or Black Ops 6 win. I'm really happy to see Mario Party there, though. That's awesome. Best family game was Astrobot. Again, the best family game category is odd because, like, what does a family game mean? Does it mean it's like childish? Does it mean it's multiplayer? On our last episode, Dan, you made a great point that the only family game that you can actually play with your family is Mario Party. The rest of these are all single player games. I found that weird. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Excuse me.
Now that it's over, it's just crazy that Nintendo didn't win an award. So
They
that's all
didn't at
I'll
all,
say.
did they? Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's expected, though. They're trying to ramp up for next year in the Switch 2. I do think next year might be another
No.
one of the
Like,
huge
I get that, but I think a lot of their games are like obviously better than we give it credit for. I know we're on the swan song mode, but
Yeah.
almost every month this year they came out with something, and that's more than what I can say about the other two guys. So
Sure.
Sure. I do think it's interesting, yeah, like you said, Miles, about the perspective of what is a family game, because in their acceptance speech for the game of the year, I think they briefly mentioned like this potentially could be many kids' first game,
Yeah.
and I think there's that's the argument that I see through what it means to be a family game of like a father, mother, or older sibling taking their younger sibling through this kind of thing. So there's an argument to be made, but I'm just happy for it. It's now I don't
Oh
think we've
yeah.
ever seen a family game also win game of the year too, which
That's a good point. That's a good point.
if
Guys,
Astrobot
play
had any
Astrobot.
sort
It's
of
so good.
multiplayer,
Okay.
if it
Oh
had any
yeah.
sort of multiplayer, I'd be into it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, best fighting game, of course, Tekken 8. Everything else didn't even hold a candle to it. Best RPG. This one I'm happy with. Metaphor won. Yeah, it's great. It's
respect.
yeah, 100%. It is my personal game of the year. Well earned, well deserved. So this is another one. So best action and best action adventure. Like where do you draw the line? Best action adventure is Astrobot, and best action is Black Myth. I feel like you should swap those, but I don't know.
yeah,
Best mobile game. I'm eating my words. Pokemon TCG Pocket did not win. Balatro won. You guys were right. I was clearly wrong. Best debut indie went to Balatro as well as best indie game overall. Of course, yeah, I feel like a close second would have been Neva. That game rules. Um, this is another one. So, Blessing on Kind of Funny. They had an episode like last week about like how they would fix the awards. He suggested that so for best community support and best ongoing game, they're kind of the same thing. Kind of just meld that into one category and just kind of have it be it's one thing. So, I agree with that. I don't really know what the distinction would be.
yeah. I mean, like going back to our own predictions episode, I said, all right, go back a few minutes and just talk about what I said, and it would be the same
Yeah,
thing. And I totally
because
agree.
like you only have a game that's ongoing for years if you support the community well. So it
Yep.
just I don't know. Anyway, best community support is Baldur's Gate 3. Best ongoing game was Helldivers 2. I thought Helldivers 2 was an interesting fit there because like after its hype moment, it really kind of like dipped. Speaking of Helldivers 2, I don't think we talked about it in the announcements. The update is out. It came out, I believe, the day after the awards. I'm probably going to play it when we're done here. Looks awesome, and it brought
It's
in. Yeah, have you played it, Kurosh? Is it good?
it's cool. It's good.
Awesome.
It feels like they've been making the updates again. They've been going back and forth with the patches of like it's too balanced. It feels weird. Now they're back at the sweet spot. This launched perfect timing. I think I was waiting for this to finally come out, and I'm glad it did. They brought in the new slash old aliens, the Illuminate, and it feels very horde mode esque in a different way as opposed to the bugs or the machines, and the inclusion of the vehicle is some
Oh
chaotic
yeah,
fun
100%.
as well. They didn't talk about it much, but there's also now melee weapons. So there's like a lance, and I've been seeing my buddy. I haven't got a chance to play with him yet, but he's like, dude, it's so fun going full Spartan, getting a giant ballistic shield and a lance, and just like fighting through hordes of the zombies in there.
Yeah,
I'm ready to be back. It's
that sounds
interesting.
more fun than the core game. So all
Yeah.
about it.
Okay, innovation in accessibility. Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. The only award this game won, which sucks, and it's the only
Underrated.
thing 100%. And it's the only game Ubisoft won. Or I'm sorry, it's the only award. Best performance. This is cool. Melina Jurgens won again, and she was presented her award by friggin' Harrison Ford. Like how much of an honor can you get for that? Plus being a two-time winner, like that's insane. Her uh, performance is, of course, it's legendary. Just not having a acting background, she kills it, of course. Hellblade 2 also won Best Audio Design. That's I would be shocked if anything else won that. I think if we didn't have Hellblade 2, Silent Hill 2 wins that. I preach this all the time, but you don't have good horror games without incredibly intricate audio design. So Best score in music, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If anything else won, I would have been pissed. This is perfect.
That was also the only thing it won, so worth noting.
It really is, isn't it? Oh my god, that's crazy. Best art direction, metaphor. Sure, yeah. Danreb, you weren't super sold on that one, right?
I wasn't super sold on it because I feel like that's just what Atlas does, and that may not be fair, but that's the case for me. And then like with metaphor in general, there was a whole lot of times where like it just seemed like pixely for no reason as a stylization choice, and I wasn't really feeling it.
For sure.
So
Best narrative, also metaphor. I think this one's interesting too. That was my vote, and I think it does tell a good story of like politics and
mhm,
inclusion and
mhm.
discrimination, and it came out at like a crazy time, like during the U.S. election. It felt very like on purpose. But compared to like a dragon, I know that has a really deep like lore and story as well. I mean, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm
One
more
more.
than happy with it. I think it was really the only choice. And like, I know we're not on there yet, but when you talk about the game of the year, like I wouldn't have minded Metaphor being there, just
Yeah, I
because
mean,
out of all the games, it feels like this is the one game that other games can go ahead and borrow something off of. Whereas with a game like Astrobot, again, go ahead and argue. I don't think it's as good as Super Mario Odyssey, but the fun was there, and that's what matters. So
yeah, for sure, for sure. Best game direction, Astrobot. I would have given that to Metaphor as well. Like you said, Dan, it takes all these pillars of like good game design, and it just nails it for each one. Astrobot does that too, but I mean, I don't think it hits as hard for me anyway as Metaphor did.
I thought it was
yeah,
gnarly that they when they were it was either during this speech or the next one. Um, they were saying like when they asked for the assets or the ability to use those PlayStation properties from those different
Mm-hmm.
teams, that there was no catch. There was everyone wanted to be a part of it and support. And I'm like, yeah, that like that felt like, hey, we're a team. Hey, we're here for the
I
games.
I also think part of that might have been PlayStation didn't give them a choice, but
Could be.
we'll see.
But I feel like there was I mean yeah, yeah, I don't know. It
No,
just
it
felt
was a
weird.
really nice moment though. No,
Yeah, it was.
100%. And then yeah, for game of the year, all the Marvels was Astrobot, and yeah, like at the end, his name's escaping me, but I believe he's the director of Astrobot from Team of Sobi. Gave a really classy, like really nice speech about like how like this game and so many others wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Mario, if it wasn't for Nintendo. Danreb, you are laughing at this. What's up?
yeah, like I don't know if there was any rules, but you're allowed to say Nintendo,
Yeah,
man.
it was weird that he wouldn't just say
Celebrating
Nintendo, right?
there was that one year where Jeff had Reggie and Phil and Sean on the same stage talking to each other. Like we're supposed to like love gaming as a whole. We can't have that tribalistic attitude and not mention Nintendo, no matter how much you're imposing it. I
Yeah,
mean, Nintendo was already in the room too. Doug Bowser was there. Eddie Garcia was there. Like,
The
just go
father
ahead,
of PlayStation was there. You should have just asked
right?
him straight up right there. Be like, "Hey, is this okay?"
Aside from naming Mario Party, I don't even know if the name Mario was even mentioned, and like that's just disrespectful in my opinion. And like I'm not just saying that as a Nintendo fanboy, but it just especially with I get that Nintendo wasn't there and they're saving everything for the Switch 2 announcement, but they deserve their flowers somehow too. And yeah, they got their nominations, but I just don't think Nintendo was really treated well here. Maybe that's because they haven't treated the Game Awards well in a while, but who knows? But yeah, going back to the subject of Game of the Year, when I saw Astrobot win action adventure and direction, I think the writing was on the wall at that point. Like,
Oh yeah,
I
100%.
think between the three of us, like it's the main favorite is Metaphor, right? But I think this is finally the time where we saw a vote split.
Yep.
It's Metaphor, it's Final Fantasy, and Metaphor won for most of those points. And I feel like the night as a whole belonged to Astrobot, Metaphor, and Balatro. So
Yeah, I feel like there was a split, but I don't think it was just between those two that you had mentioned. I honestly, like, a little bit of me like held out thinking that Sven was about to say Balatro because of how just that had been sweeping across everywhere in a different way, not in the same way that Astrobot or Metaphor had, but in a way that just was on a common kind of, just, it was everywhere. It was simple. It was beautiful. It was so many other studios in a different way had been, like, Astrobot had gotten all these studios to collaborate with him. Balatro has been doing Friends of Balatro throughout, like, all these different indie developers and major developers, CD Projekt Red, the Larian Studios, all wanted to do some nod to them in their in the Balatro stuff, and I'm like, that's mad respect there. So honestly, within this was the year where, if I think 4 out of the 5 of those names, 4 out of the 6 of those games nominated, I could see an argument for, and I feel like that, it to me is like, that's a great year for us because it says so much about like the pedigree of games we're getting. Um, and so I was just, yeah, I was stoked either which way. I was like, just, we're here to celebrate. That's the point of this, and these games are what the developers want to do. They want to bring fun and they want to do something cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, give them their flowers in some cool way.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, that was the Game Awards 2024. All all the big announcements, all the winners. This might have been the best show in terms of it being a show. Despite like my back pain from sitting in them uncomfy ass seats for 4 hours. We got Snoop Dogg. We got
Yeah,
we got Witcher 4. Like it was great.
you got
So yeah,
Aaron Paul.
we got Aaron Paul and Laura
Harrison
Bailey.
Ford.
Got to do
Didn't
something.
they
We got
do
Harrison Ford. Like, come on, man. This was.
Come on.
I don't think we mentioned it all, but it's the show's 10-year anniversary, so
Yeah, they brought it.
they brought the juice for sure. So yeah, I'm sure next year we'll all be there when Elden Ring is nominated for the third year in a row.
Let's go, ongoing game.
Yeah, so this episode's a little longer than I thought. We had to cut it out because my software crapped on me. But yeah, again, just reminding everyone that we're doing our Temple Geek Awards. By the time this episode is up, Kurosh, I believe you said sometime like Thursday, Friday. Again,
Oh,
not rush at all. No, it's fine. We have our audience vote going from December 16th, which is tomorrow, up until December 23rd. So we want the audience to vote for best movie, best show, and best game. And then all of our top 5 nominees that we have on the site for each category, we have panels of judges for each one. So we're going to take some time. We're going to take the holiday break, and then once we're back, we're going to announce the winner from each category, including the audience vote. So please register. It's free, and just it's fun. Please do it. Please do it. So yeah, you can find us at Temple of Geek on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok. You can find me at all those places as well at Myles Abenza. That's Myles with a Y. Kurosh, where can the good people find you?
find me at Kudro Prime everywhere.
Danreb, where can the good people find you?
Everywhere it's at Danreb V.
Danreb V, right on. So until next time, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.